is the greatest moment in my life.
Hey, yo.
Hello.
Hello. Magsy, how you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm not doing too bad. Sweltering hot today. 31 degrees now at 9 p.m. Yeah, it's we Brits are a marred bunch. We complain all year that it's freezing cold, then 2 days of heat and it's too hot for me. This is too hot for me, this.
I love the heat, mate. I absolutely love it. I don't love it when I'm confined into one tiny corner of a tiny bedroom of a tiny house, though. You know, here, where I sit, it feels like I'm in the middle of the sun. You know?
And I've actually had to turn my fan down because it picks up on the microphone, and it's sweltering up. I'm literally dripping.
Yeah,
but that's because I'm here with you, not to do with the heat.
It's the effect I have on you, isn't it? Eh?
It is. It is
the effect I have on all middle-aged men, buddy. You're not alone. Don't you worry. You're not alone.
Brilliant.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Si, a Radio Techers production in conjunction with the SJP World Media Network. I am Si, and with me, as always, is the rock and roll to my sausage roll, the backlash to my back is trash. Yeah, it's carrying too much weight, mate. It hurts, you know? Achy back. A podcaster who would, of course, never make an error when putting up the live show links earlier today. No, not him. The podfather himself, Lord Mags. How are we doing, sir?
Yeah, not too bad at all. Did you like the way I covered it up, though?
Mate,
like seamlessly. So for those who aren't in the know, Sa does all the groundwork on social media, and I'd hastily throw together a graphic on the day of the show. And like an idiot, I thought we were actually covering Rock versus Brock from SummerSlam 2002. So I threw the graphic together, and Sa messaged me and said, "You do know we're watching Rock versus Goldberg from Backlash." So I had to quickly knock up a flawless image, and I think it's better than the actual poster. To be quite fair, you cannot see the join. I'm impressed with our graphic skill.
I like the way it really stipulates as well. Definitely not for a title.
Yeah. So I'll take our pictures off just so the people in the chat can see how well I did with this work.
Glorious.
I even crossed out the title to make sure the title was not on the line.
Do you know what makes it even worse, Magsy?
Go on.
Makes it even worse. The Rock versus Brock Lesnar match that you put forward wasn't even the one on SummerSlam.
I know, I'm an idiot. You work with clowns, you get stuff like this.
Oh, mate. Never mind. I like it. I like that graphic better than anything else we've had so far. I think that's the best graphic.
It's the best one I've ever done.
The best graphic we have had in a year's worth, Maxie. A year's worth of live shows.
Not quite.
Nearly.
Next week is a year.
I mean, our first live show was the 7th of July last year. Mm-hmm. So calendar-wise, we're a year this week, I guess. What is it, the 11th? Yeah, so calendar-wise, we're a year this week. But obviously, we had a couple of weeks we missed and moved around and so on because of people being ill and COVID and all that bollocks. So next week is our 52nd live episode. So that makes it a year's worth of live episodes, mate. Flown by,
It does. When you're having fun, it absolutely does fly by. I mean, we did that dozens and dozens as audio only as well, and it doesn't. I was looking back at the spreadsheet that you did, and we started this like mid 2020, and it's now mid 2022, and we're still going strong and still having fun doing it. Yeah, so it's been a great journey.
I think we're getting bigger and bigger, mate. Not just my waistline. I mean, the show itself. I mean, we seem to be getting more listens, more people involved in the chat, new faces and new names popping up in the chat.
Better graphics as well. That's the best thing. Better graphics.
That's why we're getting bigger and better, mate, because of the quality of the graphics, of course.
Exactly.
Of course, yes. Very quickly then, whilst I think about it and before I forget, which is always going to, it's always a possibility, so I want to get to it very quickly. Right. SJP World Media merch, Chain Wrestling merch for all the other shows, Nitro Nights, etc., etc., etc. We've had a few people buying stuff up. That is fantastic. Steve-O bought himself a CWF t-shirt, the one that I'm sporting right here, if I can get it high enough to show on the camera. There we are. I mean, it's easy for me to say I'm really, really happy with them and the standard of it, the quality and so on. But it's good to see other people buying these tops as well and saying that they're really happy with the quality of them. And Steve-O's arrived a couple of days after they were ordered and so on. So really good. What I need to share with you now, I only found out about an hour ago. What I need to share with you all now, and it will come up on the social medias as well over the next day or two. TeePublic, who carry all of our merch. So when you click on the link that is normally on all our social medias and in the podcast descriptions when they're released and all that good stuff, TeePublic are having a sale in the next 2 days, which will mean you have to pay no postage and packaging, which is a massive chunk of any cost of anything you're buying in a load of different places. So if you're wanting to get yourself some Chain Wrestling merchandise or some Nitro Nights merchandise or the SJP World Media t-shirt or anything at all, all the Doctor Who pod, any of these things that we carry, they do hoodies, mugs, all sorts of stuff. Tomorrow and Wednesday, so that's the 12th and the 13th, that's when to jump on and get it done because they're waiving all postage and packaging charges. So you want to get yourself, now is a good time to order yourself a mug because the mugs are weighty. They bump the cost up, so now is the time to jump in on that sort of stuff if you're so see fit. So there you go. That's what I'd be doing. I'd be taking advantage of that because I don't want to pay money for anything.
Yeah, exactly. and I believe as well, if you sign up for text message promotions, you get 20% off as well.
Yes. They're always running promotions of some sort. I mean, don't get me wrong, that cuts away our profit margins, so that pisses me off a little bit. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's just great that people are wanting to buy this stuff. We've sold bits and bobs for the different shows, and it's fantastic to see. So I am hugely appreciative, as I know the guys on the other shows and magazines and so on. Everyone will be, So yeah, jump on in there, get yourself some t-shirts, get yourself some merch, hoodies. Obviously, hoodies in this weather are not the best, is it? But mugs, whatever you want to get, just jump on in. Buy. Grab it now whilst there's money off because we're poor and we want your cash.
Yeah, and I think for an independent podcaster or content creator, there's always that worry that you do merchandise like this and no one gives a shit and no one cares. And you guys out there have shown that you absolutely do care. And we massively appreciate not only the support and get involved in the show, but throwing your money at us. It just blows us away. Thank you very, very much. We appreciate it.
It's fantastic. It really is. Magsy, our non-wrestling topic this week, Build a Band, as we referred to it as, brought to us kind of via Dan Griffin, actually, because he put it forward as a question on the SJP podcast I did solo a week or two ago. I think it came out last week, maybe, when the network launched. He put forward that question, and I thought, that's fantastic. So I said, what do you reckon? And we both said, yeah, that sounds really good. It's a huge topic. We've got so many responses, so many people getting involved with Build a Band, fantasy bands or whatever, alive or dead band members, piecing together your fantasy bands, rock and roll bands, etc. So because of that, and because it's such a huge non-wrestling topic this week, I think we really need to crack on with the show. So shall we chuck some embarrassing pieces of crap into the Hall of Lane?
Yes, we shall, sir.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Nice headlock takeover there. Wait a second, the shoulders are down, the leg is hooked. 2 and 3. Well, Ray and Mascarado obviously not paid by the hour. Abel Evans protesting here, but the shoulders were down. It was a sudden counter, a real snap on the headlock takeover. The referee himself, to be fair, doesn't look overly convinced of his own decision, but the bell has been rung.
The preceding announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
What happened there?
What the hell went on there?
So, I mean, for people who don't know, you have done some commentary for a local wrestling company, and you sent me the video, and I purposely didn't reply on what I thought about it because I wanted to give you my reactions on today's show.
During the Hall of Lame segment. My God, is this going to hurt my feelings?
No, I thought you did an amazing job. I really did, and that's why I wanted to kind of like splice in a little bit of the footage and give people a chance to go and see your good work. I thought you did a brilliant job, so I thought I'd do you a bit of an honour and splicing you together a little video package.
Oh, mate, that's really kind of you. Thank you very much. I enjoyed that. It's for a company called EVM Wrestling out of Evesham. Still very much finding their feet, and there's a few issues production-wise and so on. I'm recording stuff. They're sending me the stuff. I'm recording it solo, sending it back, and so on. They got a long way to go, let's put it that way, but they're all nice chaps. I mean, some of the wrestlers there I've known for years, wrestling for Evolution as well, and so on. Top blokes there, the likes of David Eaton, Chris Goodwin, and so on. Brilliant local wrestlers, really talented. And then there's a lot of new faces there who this is their first crack at doing anything, really. They use Kamikaze Pro in Birmingham, their training facility. They use that as their place to film their weekly YouTube show. As I said, production-wise, there's still a bit there to be worked on. The actual product itself, they're trying to get where they want to be. It's a bit rough around the edges, but they're learning every week. So yeah, the second episode actually came out about an hour and a half ago, maybe, on the EVM website. So that one I recorded this afternoon. So yeah, thank you very much, Mags. I'm glad you enjoyed my vocal performance, because I've done a bit of commentary in the past, but I've had somebody with me. This is solo. And this is a different way of doing things as well, recording in different segments and so on. So, yeah, it's been quite interesting, mate.
I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, I'm very, very proud of you, sir, for that.
Oh, thank you very much, mate. Thank you.
You're more than welcome.
So where are we going now, then? Hall of Lame?
So, in the Hall of Lame, I'm putting the commentator for EVM Wrestling. No. Now,
is that because I forgot to actually introduce myself on the show, and not once did I mention who I was or plug any of my own shit?
You definitely did not plug anything at all.
No.
And when I watched it, I watched it with the missus, and even she said, "Why has he not said his name? Why has he not said who he is?" So yeah, but it's a learning curve, and I'm sure as you go on, not only will the company get better, but you'll get better as well. So
yeah, hopefully so, mate. Hopefully so. Thank you very much. Cheers.
So my actual entrance to the Hall of Lame, and I feel a little bit cruel with this one because most of the stuff that goes in Hall of Lame are really kind of big name wrestlers or really kind of well known gimmicks, and this one is a little less well known. So there were in the mid '80s there was a wrestler called Chris Champion. And he kind of did the tours of the territories at the time. Wrestled for CWF and Jim Crockett and the USWA. But this was a guy who he was saddled with poor gimmicks all the way through his career. Now, most wrestlers when they start will end up with at least one or two sketchy gimmicks whilst they learn the ropes and kind of find their feet. But once they get to a point in their career where they're not green anymore, they usually can find something they can run with, and that can be their gimmick for the rest of their career. Not this guy. So he started he started in a tag team called the New Breed. Now this tag team wrestled all the big teams at the time, wrestled the likes of the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express. But the gimmick was that they were sent back from the year 2002 as time travelers, that Dusty Rhodes had won the presidential election in the year 2000. They also claimed to be robots, and they had bright, wacky hairdos and futuristic style neon clothing. I mean, the typical, this is what the future looks like in the year 2000 style. Now, whilst in this tag team, Chris Champion broke his arm in a car accident. So when he came back to the ring, he had a cast on, but he covered his cast with like computer parts and painted it silver, so it looked. He called it Future Cast. So once his tag team broke up, he went to Jim Crockett, and he ended up doing a pretty similar gimmick until the last parts of his Jim Crockett run. He was the Karate Kid, where he was, as the film, the Karate Kid. He was actually then forced out of Jim Crockett Promotions because he kicked people for real, and people like Ric Flair, Barry Windham did not like it, so he was forced out. He then went to Continental Wrestling Association, which I think it was in the early 90s, changed it to the United States Wrestling Association. He had a relatively sane gimmick there. He tagged up with his brother for a tag team called the Wild Side. But he split from his brother halfway through his run there, and he wrestled as Cowabunga. Now,
oh my God.
If you think you know what Cowabunga is, you're right. He wrestled as a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Amazing.
Full bodysuit, full mask. Yeah. So this was in the USWA. He left there in 1991, went to Japan, took the Cowabunga gimmick with him. But obviously, Japanese culture is a little bit different. So he was actually called Turtle Carmen over there. Had a run in frontier martial arts wrestling with that. But then he got his big break. In 1993, he was snapped up by WCW. And this was it. This was leaving the bad gimmicks behind and becoming the star that he thought he was going to be. So he came in about June of 1993, and he was the muscle for Harley Race. But there was a little bit of a caveat. Now, when there's been a historic issue with Western wrestling companies using characters from the Far East, there's a lot of whitewashing. I mean, Lord Tensar, let's not forget him.
Oh dear.
This is slightly worse, and I can't put into words how bad it is. So I'm just going to put this up. So this is a white guy from America as Yoshi Kwan. And yes, he has got makeup on to make his eyes look more oriental. Yes. So he actually had quite a bit of success as well in WCW. He beat people like Marcus Bagwell, Too Cold Scorpio. He had one pay-per-view match, and that was Halloween Havoc 1993. Oh no, sorry, it was Fall Brawl 1993 against Cactus Jack, who was feuding with Harley Race at the time. He was meant to face Ricky Steamboat Halloween Havoc. But he got picked up an injury and was eventually let go. But yeah, he was Yoshi Kwan. His name was actually meant to be Yoshi Kwan, but Tony Schiavone said his name wrong on commentary, and it stuck.
That's amazing.
So yeah, he's one big break in a national company, and he was pretending to be someone from China with the eye makeup and everything. He ended up using this gimmick on the independents for the next 20 years, whilst also dipping into his Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle gimmick. Unfortunately, the guy did die in 2018. He suffered a couple of strokes and unfortunately passed away. But that was not before his last gimmick.
But there's more.
He was in a tag team in the Southern Wrestling Federation with his friend Blackie West, and the tag team was called the SS, and it was what you think it was.
Oh no.
Yes. So unfortunately, Chris Champion is going in because he was a karate kid. He was from the future. He was a Ninja Turtle. He was a fake Chinaman, and he was also a Nazi. So, unfortunately, Chris, I'm sorry, but you are my entrant in this week's Hall of Lame.
Oh my goodness, I can't get over that. This could potentially be the best Hall or worst, whichever way you want to look at it, Hall of Lame entry we have ever had, Mags. That is
Multiple.
incredible.
He's literally the Booker T and Ric Flair of our Hall of Lame. He's got multiple rings.
That's insane. Honestly, you could have broke that down and put a different gimmick of his in every week for the next 2 months.
Yeah. He had a hard laugh in wrestling, unfortunately.
Oh my God. Do you know what it reminds me of? Seeing that Yoshi, was it Yoshi Kwan? Yoshi
Kwan.
Yeah.
I'll put it back up just so everyone knows. This is what 1993 WCW thought East Asian people look like.
Oh man, do you know what it reminds me of? I mean, you say this is 1993, okay? And it harks back to the Doctor Who pod and so on. There's a Doctor Who story with Tom Baker as the Doctor that's quite famous and called I think it's the Talons of Weng Chang or Weng Cheng, and it's set in like the 1800s. And there's this evil Asian magician guy basically killing fuckers everywhere, right? And rather than cast someone as this character, they got a white actor and literally did that to his face. They did the whole eyebrows and yellow faced him. They refer to it as, I guess, in some circles, you know. And it is. I mean, that was the 70s, and it was bad then. This is 1993.
Well, I think it was in mid 2010s. Scarlett Johansson was in Ghost in the Shell, and she was obviously an American actress playing a Japanese character. So it still happened very, very recently. So yeah, it is called Yellowface, where they kind of like Westerners Asian actors. It's shocking. I mean, wrestling's always been bad for it, as we fully know, but that was particularly gruesome.
Oh mate, but that's glorious. That's the sort of thing that the Hall of Lame is made for. And I honestly, I think that's the best entrant or worst entrant, depending on which way you word it, that has ever gone in. That is superb, but awful, if you know what I mean.
Definitely awful.
Oh, it makes my entrant look like nothing, eh? The Hall of Lame for me, often I say that it's gimmicks that made me cringe and made me embarrassed to be a wrestling fan. Mm-hmm. I was watching wrestling around my parents' house on one occasion, and I often tell the story about my dad coming in from work and catching certain things on screen, and he would never walk in the middle of Steamboat Flair. He would never walk in the middle of Shawn Undertaker, whereas the place is getting torn down with 5-star classics. He would walk in, to like Max Moon or whatever nonsense, the gobbledygook, and just roll his eyes at me and be like, yeah, but just wait 10 minutes and look what's next. But he would never have it. This was potentially the worst occasion when my dad walked in part of the way through a wrestling show. It took place just after the Alliance WCW ECW invasion ended, and people were in storyline, desperate for jobs. So one way they could get employment from Mr. McMahon and the WWF was to join a certain club. I think most wrestling fans will know where we're going here. It basically resulted in Vince McMahon bearing his arse on live television and getting such legends as Jim Ross, Mick Foley, Shawn Michaels, etc., to kiss his ass. And it was the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club. You had the horrific scenes with Trish. You had the awfulness with Jim Ross and The Undertaker turning. Just the fact that Vince would make his butt cheeks dance and jiggle. And then you also hear stories about Vince taking great pleasure in farting during these segments when people's faces are down in that area. And one of the people apparently he farted at was poor Trish Stratus, which is just, you know what I mean? It's not a good look, is it? So, I mean, there's no big, long explanation for my Hall of Lame entry this week. It's the story says it, tells itself. My dad walked in to basically find me sat there watching a grown man on his knees kissing another grown man on the bare arse, rolled his eyes again, and walked in the kitchen to make a cup of tea. And I felt incredibly embarrassed. So my Hall of Fame entry this week is the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club.
Yeah, that's one of the entrants that I have almost put in multiple times because it's one of the things that when people take the piss out of wrestling and wrestling fans, it's that kind of thing that they point to and say, this is why it's ridiculous, this is why it is childish. Yeah, I agree. It's clearly done to stroke the ego of Vince McMahon.
Oh, totally.
It's ridiculous, yeah. So it's a worthy entrant.
So there we go. Remind me of the guy's name again. Did you say it was Chris Adams?
Chris Champion.
Chris Champion. Sorry, Chris Champion. Yes. Those are your entrants into the Hall of Fame this week. Again, there's a thread on Twitter with all the entrants from the very first Hall of Fame class way back in, I think it was January, Magsy, we started this.
I think so.
Every week, there's pictures of all the people we put in. So if you're watching and there's no images, my Magsy there bringing an image up is fantastic. If you're listening on the audio version, obviously you can't see images. Go find the Hall of Fame Twitter thread, I guess, from the Chain Wrestling Twitter, at Chain_Wrestling on Twitter, and see these entrants and so on. But yes, Chris Champion and the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club this week rightfully take their place in the Chain Wrestling Hall of Fame. Oh dear. Magsy, before we jump to our bumper non-wrestling topic, shall we have a quick scan through the chat and see who has joined us and what they're saying?
Yes, we shall. So, as always, the gracious Mrs. P saying it's Monday night. You know what that means. And yes, Sire's stolen your cup. How dare he?
Nice sparkly cup. But Sharon has made this herself with her incredible creative talents. And it says SJP, I can't get my Vimto out of the way to show it properly. SJP World Media, it says there. Sharon made that and stuck it on. And yeah, fantastic stuff. Really impressed. Awesome.
Yeah, well done, Chad. Connor, no soccer in the chat. Hello, sir. How are you? Scottish Danny, Matt Willis. How are you, good sir? Dan Griffin. Who's ready for some sweaty chain wrestling?
Not far off, mate. Not far off.
Yeah, I mean, we're only 27 minutes in, so yeah, I hope you're all ready. Dan commenting on my mistake graphics, which I think I got past everybody. Easy to make the mistake with Goldberg and Brock so intertwined in recent years. And Connor, there, top tier graphic design. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Very good.
Matt's saying, looks like you were doing a right to censor modern tape with that image. I am so proud of this work. I may leave this one up for weeks now, just keep doing exactly the same graphic all the time now.
Brilliant.
We need more of Lord Mags's artwork for the show. There'll be crayons and colourings at the wedding. Jesus Christ, I'll make plenty of use of them. And then lots of talk about the amazing quality of the t-shirts. Scottish Danny said he's going to take advantage of the sale tomorrow, which is brilliant. And then Hall of Fame. Oh, wait, we've had a run-in. Yeah.
Swerve, bro.
It took me a good 10 minutes to throw that video together. Like I said, I was so proud of you doing that. I thought people need to see it. So
I thought I'd done something wrong. When it started, the Hall of Fame, the intro to the Hall of Fame segment started, and then the NWO thing flashed up. I was like, okay, what's going on here? And then the EVM Wrestling thing started. I'm like, shit, have I pressed something? What have I done?
He thought he was going to get attacked by Vincent and Stevie Ray.
Exactly.
You're being called the Gloucester's Joey Styles by Scottish Danny and Dan Griffin. And then Connor No Soccer said, if you need some commentary pointers, just ask. He's still in the learning stages, but he's been doing it for a couple of years. It's cool that our community will go out and offer to lend a hand. So absolutely amazing.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Dan Griffin wondering if Chris Champion was a Harris brother. I think he may have been. Poor bloke. I mean, just reading his story, and I don't even know how I come across him because I've not heard of any of his work before then. I think I've seen the Yoshi Kwan a couple of times, but yeah, just reading his backstory and thought that guy got shat on in wrestling, absolutely shat on.
I've never heard of any of it, and I'm absolutely fascinated. So I'm really, I'm desperate to read about this, and I'm really, send me a link when the show's done. I think this is amazing.
maybe one day Yoshi Kwan versus Cactus Jack may come up on Chain Wrestling. We'll be able to watch it.
We'll have to
Fall
link
Brawl
some
93.
Yoshi Kwan matches.
And Dan Griffin saying he's going to avoid that particular Tom Baker story. Andy from Bang Bang just popped in whilst having a poo. My wife came down and caught me watching Lex Luger pausing for several minutes in his 2000 WCW era. I mean, that's bad, but she could have caught you watching him pausing as the narcissist, which is way, way worse.
Whilst Bobby Heenan basically, verbally masturbates over the guy.
It's so grim. It's so
bad,
horrible.
It's
know how back
Neil.
in the house, Neil. How are you, sir? And then Dan, petition for one man's meat to do a Chris Champion Yoshi Kwan episode.
Oh, what a shout. What a shout.
What
Get it
a
done,
shout.
boys. Chris Bellis, Scottish Danny, get that done. Has to be done.
And that's all the chat caught up with for now.
Lovely stuff. Awesome. Brilliant. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us again. And again, thank you so much to everybody for all your responses for our non-wrestling topic this week. Our build a band, fantasy rock and roll band kind of question we asked. Again, like I said, Dan Griffin put it forward for another show. We thought it was great, so we're stealing it. And we're going to use it here. So the criteria basically was a couple of guitarists, a lead singer, a bass player, and a drummer, alive or dead, any band, any genre, your own personal favourites, put together your fantasy band. And a band name as well, which is something that literally right this second I've realised I haven't done. So I'm going to have to think on my feet in a little bit.
That always goes well.
Me thinking on my feet? Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, ultimate professional I am, mate. Don't you worry about that. We start with, and I know he's in the chat there, which is great as well, Connor Knows Soccer. As Magsy frantically searches back through Twitter, because I do this via screenshots and it's never in the right order, and I apologise, but I can't do it any other way because I'm not technically savvy. So, just the way it is, The fact that I've got a light on above me amazes some people. Yes. Okay, Connor Knows Soccer, he says here. Lead vocals, Corey Taylor from Slipknot. Bass guitar, Paul Gray from Slipknot. On drums, Alex Bent from Trivium. I like a bit of Trivium. Some good stuff there. So, Matt Heafy and that. Yeah, great stuff. Guitar 1 and backing vocals. Funny I mentioned him. Matt Heafy from Trivium. And guitar 2, Jeff Ling from Parkway Drive. Now, I don't know a lot of Parkway Drive, but I know Steve-O has played a little bit on his podcast that I've listened to, so it sounds okay. Yeah, but I don't know masses myself. So, and Connor says for his band name, The Chains, because he's not very creative. Hey, don't you worry about that, pal. We'll take that.
That's an amazing name. The Chains.
Yeah. Every single band in the world should be called that. Obviously, the top 40 get confusing, but
down 1, The Chains.
Up 2, a new entry this week from The Chains. Yeah, I can see why that would fall down straight away, so just ignore that. My good friend Ari, Dave Pyle on WhatsApp, this one, Magsy, he sent in
Brilliant.
Here. Sorry, mate. I normally save them to the end, but he responded really quick. So, Gene Hoglan on drums. I'm not 100% sure who that is. Frank Bello on bass. Scott Ian from Anthrax on rhythm guitar. Paul Gilbert on lead, and Bruce Dickinson on vocals. Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden, one of my favourite singers as well. There's a few people there that I don't actually recognise. And I know when Dave listens to this, when Ari listens to this later in the week, he'll probably be screaming at his podcast player, chastising me for my lack of rock music or music in general.
You'll receive a particularly nasty WhatsApp later on.
Yes, indeed. He says the name of his band would be Necro Hog. I'm hoping that's not as rude as it sounds, and I'm not just caused ourselves some sort of big explicit language issue on our show, Mags. We'll skip past that, shall we?
Necro means dead, and hog is pig. So
dead pig.
Dead pig.
Yeah, fair enough. Dead pig. That's quite a good name for a death metal band, isn't it? Dead pig.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Necro Hog sounds like an upmarket dead pig.
It does, doesn't it? Very much so. A clever play on words, meaning the same bloody thing. Speaking of pigs, at Pigs Bladders on Twitter. Look at that segue.
Amazing.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
It's almost like I planned this shit. If I'd meant to do that, that would have been amazing. But it's literally just the next picture on my list, so I can't claim that, I'm afraid. He says here, Nico McBrain, Iron Maiden on drums. Gene Simmons on bass from Kiss. Now that surprises me a little bit because a lot of people criticize Gene Simmons' bass playing and saying that Kiss is just a band for show as opposed to the music itself, I guess, Max.
Well, it's certainly not a band for wrestling, that's for damn sure.
Well, yeah, we spoke about that last week, didn't we? Not a good look. Jimi Hendrix on backing vocals and guitar. That's a good shape. Olga, the Toy Dolls singer, on guitar as well. And it's only a 4-piece, and we require a 5-piece. So he wants Barry Horowitz on the maracas, and he included a little picture there of Barry Horowitz playing the maracas with the band All Dilate.
That is amazing. That's
That is.
that's the level that we are looking for chain wrestling.
Yeah, that's exactly our level of humour. At Pigs Bladders on Twitter continues, though. You think that's good? You should hear them play. The only way to describe it would be to imagine a small Peruvian gentleman swinging on an ostrich's testicles whilst plucking them like a harp. It's truly magical.
Oh my good lord. Brilliant.
Dear me. Oh, man. James at 80s and 90s Wrestling on Twitter. He says here, name of the band, Why the Funk Knotters. Okay, look. The drummer he selects is Mike D from the Beastie Boys. The bass player is Colin Greenwood from Radiohead. Oh, that's a shite, actually. Yeah, that's a shite. Guitarist Holly Ross from The Lovely Eggs. Not familiar with them, Mags?
No, can't say I've heard of them.
Second guitarist Paul Banks from Shed 7. I know Shed 7, yeah.
Yeah, interesting pick. I don't think he's a guitarist that really stands out, but I don't mind a bit of Shed 7.
Yeah, okay. Singer Cedric Bixler Zavala from At the Drive-In. I think At the Drive-In was another band that I sort of experienced properly for the first time via Steve-O's music podcast. So I keep bringing that up because it's an excellent listen. People should go and check it out. It's really, really good. James also says, in addition, I will have Macho Man.
Why, why am I only noticing these now? You're getting my genuine first reaction. That's the band. You don't need the other 5, just them.
In addition, I will have Macho Man, Barbara Beefcake, and Jake the Snake on backing trumpet with a glorious picture of them playing trumpet right there.
And is that Hogan underneath
That's
the
Hulk
Scar
Hogan, yeah.
logo with half of a tuxedo on?
Yeah, I think he's playing bass there at the time. Isn't he playing bass? And
He is, yeah.
Isn't that from the Vince McMahon music video where he comes running out and he's dancing like that and he's singing? And...
It probably is. It would not surprise me.
That is a brilliant watch. If people have not seen that before or not seen it for a long time, that is a brilliant watch just because it's so cringeworthy. It's fantastic stuff.
Great work, James. Great work.
Fantastic stuff. We have here good friend of the show at UTT Rob on Twitter from the awesome UTT podcast and UTT Tank podcast as well. The Perfect Band, Shannon Moore, Evan Courageous, Shane Helms, and Tank Abbott. 3 counts. Oh yes, and you know if you listen to the audio version later in the week, you're going to be hearing a bit of 3 count right now, don't you? You know that's happening.
Jesus wept. Great pick, absolutely great
totally.
pick.
So I am absolutely soaking in sweat. So I really apologise if I knock my microphone at all, trying to wipe my wetted brow. I apologise to anyone listening out there. Millwall Chris on Twitter at Millwall Chris1. He says Tinky Winky, Dipsy, and I'm assuming people can guess where I'm going with the other band members, Lala and Poe, and he would call the band the Tubby Tellers.
He missed out Nunu as well, which is a shame.
Nunu. I thought that's the potato, isn't it?
Nunu's the vacuum.
Oh, and it goes around. Yeah. I always find that
drinking all the tubby custard.
Yeah, that had some sort of euphemisms going on there, didn't it? Do you know what I mean? That was hinting at other stuff.
I don't know what you mean. That's how dare you cast aspersions on the Tubby Tellers.
The Tubby Tellers. A little disappointed with Rob and Millwall Chris though, because they haven't told us what instruments people are playing. I mean, have we got Dipsy on vocals? Have we got Shane Helms on bass? We're never going to know, Mags.
One of them at least will be playing the triangle because they've got a triangle popping out of the head.
So he's literally just going to be bashing his mate over the bonds.
Or just tingling him with a stick, like ting, ding, 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 ding.
Tingling his little triangle hole whilst the Hoover scurries around drinking up the custard. Yeah, okay. And you try and tell me that that's a kids program, mate. Yeah, righto. GH at Carry the Gary on Twitter. He says here, and this is good because he's gone with a wrestling themed band for a wrestling themed show. Because believe it or not, we are a wrestling podcast. He's gone with Michael Hayes on vocals, Man Mountain Rock on lead guitar, Elias on rhythm guitar, Hulk Hogan on bass, and I'm hoping he's dressed exactly like we just saw him in that picture there with the sleeves cut off his tux to show the guns, brother. Kurt Angle on drums. Just need a wrestling themed band name. And Gary says the Hot Tags. Yeah, that'd work for me. Would definitely call their album Hardest Part of the Ring.
Brilliant. Brilliant work, Gary. Brilliant work.
That is great stuff. Thanks for that, Gary. That's awesome. Steve-O, at Total Steve-O on Twitter. He says, so here we go. Too many metal singers I'd have. Lamb of God's Randy Blythe. I've seen Lamb of God a few times. They're not a band I would put on at home. I think they go into that. They just cross over that line as being a bit too heavy for me, Mags. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And right in Steve-O's wheelhouse, though.
Yes, Steve-O. You know, a lot of the bands that sort of just teeter on that line or just cross over for me are right into what he loves. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He continues. Thy Artist Murders C.J. McMahon. I'm not familiar with them. Lorna Shaw's Will Ramos. Avenged Sevenfold's M Shadows. I like Avenged Sevenfold. They're good. Another band that I found out literally from Steve-O's podcast, Falling in Reverse, and their singer Ronnie Radke. So I mean, Steve-O's effectively going here with a choir. It looks like we've got a heavy metal choir.
Pretty much.
No, sorry, I stand corrected. Apologies, Steve-O. He says actually he's going to go with former Killswitch Engage frontman Howard Jones, and that is a great shout. Howard Jones is amazing, and when I say Howard Jones, he's not the guy from the Halifax adverts. This is a different Howard Jones, just in case anyone's confused by that. You know, easy mistake to make, obviously. Steve-O says for his drummer, two sprang to mind. One being Slipknot's Joey Jordison, or the other is Thy Artist Murders Lee Stanton. I'll go Joey, as he was drumming for my favourite band during my teen years. Yeah, fair enough, mate. Lead guitarist is easy. Kill switches, Adam. Okay, it's easy for him to pick, not easy for me to say. Adam Dutkiewicz.
Dutkiewicz.
Is that how you say it? Is it Dutkiewicz?
I think so.
Okay, we'll go with that. Just listen to their song. Just listen to their song, A Signal Fire. Bassist Steve-O says, ex-Fear Factory Christian Wolbers was the influence on Steve-O himself playing bass. I wasn't aware Steve-O played bass. I know he does the videos where he air basses, I guess, but I wasn't aware he played bass himself. That's
bass is very high up as well.
Yeah. I wonder if that's just because that's where his camera cuts off, though.
Yeah, I think it is.
Fair
but I like how he seamlessly transitioned from air bass into drums as well. Just multi-talented.
He's a one-man air band.
He certainly is.
He's got cymbals between his knees, and what you don't see when he's playing bass up here is he's crashing his legs together to get the cymbals going. Yeah. Rhythm guitar, even though their leads are never toss-up between Ken Susi of Unearth or ex-As I Lay Dying's Nick Hyper. I'll go Ken, as like Adam, very entertaining on stage. And he says, of course, the name of his band, and he lists a few people here that he says will enjoy this. Brain Hammer. Brilliant.
Oh my word. Oh
Brain
my
Hammer.
word. Oh, that's definitely a death metal name.
That is indeed. Oh man. At Radio Tuckers on Twitter, we have here, this will be from our good friend Tanner. He says, Frank Zappa on guitar and vocals. Okay. See, Zappa's one of those that so many people talk about. But you could play me a Frank Zappa song, and I wouldn't know it was Frank Zappa.
No, Seb.
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's such an inspiration to people. But like I said, I couldn't pick out a Zappa song from a lineup.
Nah, nor me. Perhaps that's something we should look into next week, Max. Obviously, that means we're not going to, but...
Yeah, we definitely will not be doing that.
Yeah, okay. Carlos Santana on guitar as well. Mm-hmm. Omar Rodriguez Lopez on guitar. Do you know who that is?
I have not got a clue. I'm sure Tanner will let us know during the week.
Please do, Tanner. Please do. In fact, please do anyone. If we don't know the artist or musician you're referencing, Send us some stuff on Twitter. Send us a link to a song or whatever. Yeah.
And we'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, of course. Thundercat on bass. That Lionel.
Tigra, I think.
Tigra. Yeah, she looks more of a bassist, doesn't she? You know, some bands have that sort of sultry female bassist.
Yeah. That could be certainly who he was on about.
Yeah, exactly. And Questlove on drums. See, Questlove
sounds like a computer game.
Yeah, or like an 80s hair metal band. We are Questlove. You know, thanks for joining us. Next on stage is Motley Crue or whatever. You know. Yeah. Okay. And he gave us a few options for his band's name. One is Pickle Finger.
Brilliant.
Or he elaborates on that and says Frankie and the Pickle Fingers. Or processing eternal night mode in satisfaction.
That says penis.
It does.
Tanner, you are such a child.
So on the album, it would just, that's quite clever. That's quite clever. Well done, Tanner. Enjoyed that, mate. That's great stuff.
Great work.
Paulie at Paulie FPL on Twitter. I'm not sure if we've had anything from this person before, so if that's the case, brilliant. Thank you for joining us, my friend. That is awesome to have you along. He says, singer, Freddie Mercury. Oh, what a shape. Freddie could do anything, couldn't he? Such a talented guy. Mm-hmm. Guitarists, Randy Rhoads and Angus Young. Oh, this is right at my street, Mags. Randy Rhoads.
You're loving this band already.
Yeah, totally. Randy Rhoads, of course, ex-Ozzy Osbourne before he passed away. Angus Young, AC/DC's main man. Bass player, Cliff Burton. Oh, yeah. Yes, definitely. And drummer, the late John Bonham. Oh, yeah, what a band that would be.
That's cracking.
That's my winner so far, I think, Magsy. I'm loving that one. Band name, Brim. Spelt with a Y, but pronounced Brim as in with an I. It's the initials of the surnames. Oh,
very clever as well. Yeah, very clever.
We're liking that, Paulie. You can come again. We enjoyed that. Tanner continues, actually, at Radio Techers. He says...
Well, he would do.
Yes, he would. He says that the type of music that his band Penis would play
his band Penis.
His band Penis, yeah. Obviously, that could mean a couple of things, couldn't it? His band called Penis, or his penis is band, which I imagine in numerous places it is. We know what you're getting up to, Tanner. Experimental rock with plenty of jazz, improvisation, jam and psychedelic stylings, along with global influences, African, Latin, reggae, hip-hop, blues, and garage rock, often accompanied with comedic and thought-provoking lyrics or 10 to 20 instrumental pieces. That sounds like a mess.
It sounds very noisy.
Yes, indeed.
A lot of clash of styles there, I think.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of jazz straight off the bat, mate.
He just lost you with the first one.
Yeah.
Never mind the reggae or the blues and the garage rock. Jazz, and I am out.
I'll tell you what, to be fair, bit of reggae's okay. Blues is alright. Garage rock, of course, yeah. Yeah, jazz, nah, not for me, pal. All this nonsense of, you got to listen to the notes they're not playing. Bollocks. What are you on about? Notes they're not playing, you knobhead. Give your head a wobble. Come on. Notes they're not playing. How can you hear them if they're not being played?
They've been using too much of the jazz lettuce, I think.
I think so. Welcome to Jazz Club. Dan Griffin, at Dan Griffin21 on Twitter. We have another vote here for Corey Taylor as the lead singer. Great show. I mean, Taylor, obviously, from Slipknot, lots of, especially in the early days, heavy vocals, sort of shouty, screamy stuff. But you listen to Corey Taylor do solo or Corey Taylor with his other band, Stone Sour, and this guy can actually really sing, you know. He is really, Stone Sour are fantastic. On guitar, you have Slash from Guns N' Roses. His second guitarist, Nita Strauss, who I believe is the guitarist for Alice Cooper's band at the moment, has played.
She's on WWE quite a lot. NXT.
Yeah, that's it. The blonde lass. Yeah, that's right. Drums, Dave Grohl. Now that is somebody who I thought would come up a lot more.
Yeah, in not just on drums but on guitar as well.
Yeah. Bass, of course, Lemmy. Yeah, that's a shite, Lemmy. The band would be called Shredder's Revenge.
Good name.
It is. Matt Butler at Trey Butler on Twitter. Again, a name I'm not familiar with. So, if this is your first time messaging in, thank you so much for taking the time to get involved in the show. Awesome stuff. Drummer, Ginger Baker from Cream. That's a shite. Bass, Manny from Primal Scream. Okay. Lead guitar. Yeah. Lead guitar, Johnny Marr from the Smiths. Okay, yeah. And the singer, Frank Black from the Pixies. Backing vocals, Liz Fraser, Cockchew Twins. I'm not familiar with those. But the rest of it, I reckon that's quite a good mix there, Max. Because they're obviously, the Smiths, the Pixies, and so on, not really in the same ballpark, are they? But you could almost hear those sounds actually going together, couldn't you, in a way?
Yeah, it's whereas Tanner's was a very scary, experimental mix of styles. This feels like it would kind of gel a lot better than Tanner's.
Yeah. Band name Discombobulated. Okay.
Some cracking band names.
There is. I like Pickle Finger. That's a great name.
Frankie and the Pickle Finger as well.
Frankie and the Pickle Fingers. Cam at Cam Griff 92 on Twitter. Drummer Travis Barker. Now that name I know. What's he from?
Blink 182.
Ah, okay, yes. Bass player Flea, and that's Chili Peppers, isn't it, Flea?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
2 guitarists, Slash and Brian May. My God, there's a lot of curly hair flying around that stage, isn't there?
Jesus wept. I hope they don't have fans on the stage, because that's 2 guitarists that are going to get sucked up.
You'd lose little Flea in the middle of them, wouldn't you? He'd just disappear into this massive curly hair. You'd lose your bass player, mate.
Oh, Jesus.
His singer would be Jack Black. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I always sort of viewed Jack Black more as like a comedy effort, but I suppose, he sounds good in what he does.
Yeah. I mean, Tenacious D are technically a comedy band, but he has got some paps.
Paps. He has indeed.
Paps.
Their roadie manager would be Disco Inferno. Brilliant. Nitro Night's favourite, Disco Inferno. And the band's name would be Disco's Bitches. And yes, they would all be wearing matching Disco Inferno outfits 24/7. So not just when they're on stage, 24/7. The whole shebang, all the time.
And then carry the Gary. And Disco gets 100% of the royalties. And Cam, of course, because why not?
Yes. And I imagine they would come on stage to, Disco Inferno's entrance theme.
Disco Fever.
Yeah, playing them on.
Yeah.
But they'd have to play like the full 3.5 minute version as well. You can't just play a little bit whilst they walk on stage. They got to just stand there and wait for it to finish. Really, really awkward. Just like, Conrad, our good buddy at Octopus Hold _. Haven't heard of you for a while, Conrad. It's just brilliant seeing you active on social media, my friend. Hope to hear your voice back on podcasts and stuff in the future. And also, I know you're doing a lot of writing, and you got your own site and your own magazine coming out soon. So, good luck with all of that, buddy. He says, on vocals, Chino Moreno of the Deftones. Deftones are a band I never really got into, Magsy, to be fair.
Same with me. They were kind of on the edge of that indie/rock scene. Yeah, and they weren't a band that I was particularly interested in.
No, that's it. Guitar backing vocals, Josh Middleton from Silosis. I don't recognise that either.
Never heard of them. Conrad is very eclectic when it comes to his music, though.
We're gonna get ashamed now, because we're either A, too old, or too out of touch to understand what young hip Conrad's talking about. Yeah.
We are both.
Yes. Bass, Eugene Abdukhanov from the band Ginger. I've heard the band Ginger, but I've never heard their music, and I wouldn't recognise that guy's name. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I see Abdukhanov, and I think he played left back for Bulgaria or something. Do you know what I mean?
Jesus.
No, Ginger, they're called. On guitar, he would have Tom Searle from the Architects. I know the Architects, yeah. In fact, I think I discovered the Architects because of Conrad talking about them on Twitter and on podcasts with you in the past.
I think he went to a concert of theirs, like his first ever concert, and I think it was the Architect.
Yeah, okay. And drums, Mario Duplantier from Gojira.
Gojira.
The band's name would be Mediation. Oh, that's good. I like that.
Very good. Very good.
He does continue here, Conrad, saying that it was a three-way tie between Chino, Tatiana from Ginger, and Will Ramos from Lorna Shore for vocals.
Another pick for Will Ramos. I think that's Steve-O picked Will Ramos as well, or mentioned him.
I'm starting to feel really old going through these because I don't know where half of these are.
I know less than half.
I've said half of these because it's just a cliche. I probably know maybe none. None of them.
Two. I think I know about two.
That's it. Even the ones that are older, like Frank Zappa, that we should know, we're sat here going, nope. I'm going to have to find some Frank Zappa to play us out this week on the podcast version, just so we look like we're cultured when the audio version comes out later in the week.
Because we're classy.
We are classy. We're very classy, mate. We have Ben here at Witticisms of Ben on Twitter. He says Dave Grohl, which I'm guessing will be on
drums there.
I'm looking at the rest of his lineup. Yeah, another shout for Flea on bass. Oh, here we go. Here's what we're talking about. Eddie Van Halen on guitar. Yes, I'm amazed that other people have not put him forward already. Eric Clapton on guitar. Another great shout. And yeah, my wife in the chat there saying, I see Miles Kennedy. I see Miles Kennedy. I see Miles Kennedy. Indeed, Ben has selected Miles Kennedy as his vocalist. And Miles Kennedy, that guy is incredible, Magsy.
He sounds it. I mean, Sharon has got impeccable taste, so
but he sings
very
for
much trust
Alter
him.
Bridge.
Oh,
So
okay.
he does the vocals for Edge's old song, you know?
Yeah, he is good.
Yeah. Alter Bridge, though, I find are quite the samey, quite mediocre-ish, but that track's a banger. But the rest of Alter Bridge is a bit, okay, it's a little bit painting rock by numbers, I suppose, for want of a better term.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
But Miles Kennedy also now is the vocalist for Slash from Guns N' Roses, his solo band. And oh my God,
his solo band.
Yeah, Slash's solo band, yeah.
His solo one.
Yeah.
Band multiple.
Well, yeah, no. Oh, for goodness sake. Have we got time for this? It's Slash's solo project then. How's that?
I was just pulling your plank, sir.
Pulling me plank. Slash's first solo album. Yeah, I'm going to say it again. His first solo album is an absolute banger because he has guest vocalists for all the tracks. So you've got like Ozzy Osbourne singing.
Solo.
No, it's for goodness sake, you pedantic bastard. But there's a fantastic record on there sang by Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas. That's amazing.
I think you mentioned it before.
Not Fergie, the football manager. But there's also a duet on there. With...
An old Scottish bloke.
Yeah, just growling down the microphone. Yeah, it's stuff with Slash. And Miles Kennedy ended up doing a song or two for his first album and then just took over and just sings all of it now for the next 2 or 3 albums. Oh, it's so good. And there you go. Sharon saying it's Slash featuring Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators. Yeah, there we go. It's
Catch it
stuff
out.
with Slash. Yeah, it's stuff with Slash is so much better than Alter Bridge, man. And we've seen him live with Slash as well, and they do Sweet Child of Mine, Paradise City, and it is bang on, mate. It is so good.
Does he have the snake hips of Axel though?
Does anyone, mate? Does anyone? Does Axel nowadays? I don't think so.
Well, very, very true.
Yes. We have Josh Johnson at Doog Vader on Twitter. And he says, Danny Carey on drums. I'm not familiar with who that is. Shout out in the chat if anyone is aware. Les Claypool on bass. Again, not someone I know, Magsy. Are these ringing a bell with you?
Claypool sounds like a down market seaside resort.
Yep, a whole resort on bass. Everyone who stays at this resort is given a bass guitar when they check it and have to contribute to the album. John Frusciante or T. Now he's Chili Peppers, isn't he? Is that right?
Yeah, and he's done a lot of his own solo stuff.
His own solo stuff, yeah.
Which is really good. It's a lot of experimental stuff, but yeah, he's so talented.
Okay.
John Frusciante.
Frusciante, okay, that's how you say it, right. And Claudio Sanchez on vocals and rhythm guitar. I'm not familiar with who that is.
No, I don't. Dan has said that Danny Carey is the Tool drummer.
Okay, right. Fair enough.
And Les Claypool played with Primus.
Okay, I've seen Primus. I think.
So they left their mark on you then.
Well, mate, I saw so many bands for so many years that it all kind of... I used to...
meld into one.
Yeah, I obviously used to enjoy the occasional half a shandy at a concert or a festival. And a lot of bands kind of blend into each other. And then sometimes somebody will go, oh, do you know such and such? And I'll be like, I think so. And it turns out I've seen them 3 times. I just can't remember. So, okay. Dan Griffin, Claudio Sanchez is the Coheed and Cambria singer. I've seen them as well. Can't tell you anything about them, but I've seen them.
So you know all of the bands that Josh Johnson mentioned.
Okay, I just don't know the band members. I probably, like I said, caught them. I know Coheed and Cambria. I caught at a festival, and I wasn't going to see them. They were just on. So, yeah, there we go. Well, that's it then. That's it from our friends in the CWF this week, Magsy. Lots of great shouts there. Some brilliant band names as well. You know, brilliant stuff.
And the good thing about these topics is it gives you something to look to. Like if we don't have the most eclectic music taste, so it gives you a chance to discover some new stuff.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. What have you got, Magsy? What would yours be?
Okay, so I believe I went over and above. Again, you know me. When it comes to fantasy booking, I like to stretch my mental legs, I suppose. So
has this got all swerves and stuff like Duff McKagan bringing in a steel chair and all that sort of stuff?
No, it's relatively tame. I've just give a little bit more information.
Okay.
So for drums, I've gone with Meg White from the White Stripes.
Okay, yeah.
So for bass, I've gone for the popular vote Flea from Chili Peppers.
Right.
Guitar, I've gone actually for Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead, not Colin. Mainly because of his finger breaker in Paranoid Android. I think that's absolutely just some of the best guitaring I've ever heard. Lead guitar, I've gone with John Squire from Stone Roses and the Seahorses. And then for vocals, I've gone with Skin from Skunk Anansie.
Oh, what a shite that is.
She is amazing. Absolutely amazing. So the band name, and these are seamlessly linked into the fact that this is a wrestling show.
Okay.
The band name is the Indie Darlings.
Ah, nice.
And I've also named their first 3 albums because typically bands get a 3-album deal.
Yeah.
First album, Called Up to the Big Leagues.
Right.
The struggle album, the sophomore album, I've called Satin Catering. And then the third album, the last album on the deal, Future Endeavoured.
Oh, that is brilliant. That is really clever.
I know. It's what I do.
That's fantastic. Loving that. You're knocking it out of the park this week, mate. This band stuff, Skunk Anansie mentions, these album names.
Chris Champion.
Bloody hell, yeah. I might as well just turn the camera off and just sit back and watch you.
It's almost like I've put some effort in this week.
The graphic behind you begs to differ. Oh, dear me. Obviously, this stemmed from the question that Dan Griffin chucked into the SJP pod. So my answer is going to be pretty similar to that, but there's some mentions that people have brought in here that I didn't think of. For example, Eddie Van Halen on guitar could quite easily, come in and take the place of, I think, Mick Mars I went for. I can't even remember what I said now. On drums, I know I had Nico McBrain from Iron Maiden, just because the amount of time changes in Maiden and how complex some of that can be. And I think this guy is just absolutely superb, and he's been with them since '83. So you think of all those big, epic, long songs with multiple time changes, and he's the guy driving that. So that's impressive to me. I can't look really beyond Steve Harris from Maiden on bass as well, for the same reasons I got Nico McBrain on drums. And then guitar, I struggled with because I kept thinking of guitarists the more I talked about it. So you got like the likes of Zach Wilde from Black Label Society, who my wife hates, absolutely despises. But not because of his guitar playing, but because when he sings, he sounds like that, and he sings like this.
So
But
she
I love
hates
Black Label.
him for that.
Yeah, she can't stand it. Same as Ozzy Osbourne. You know, Ozzy Osbourne's got that kind of nasally kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how Zach Wilde sounds as well. Funny enough, Zach Wilde played guitar for Ozzy's solo band for a while as well, to be fair.
Maybe
So
that's where you got it from.
Yeah, you had two of them going.
It sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Oh, mate, honestly, some Black Label stuff. Fire It Up and stuff like that. Fantastic record. Really, really good. But my singer was... There's so many great front people I've seen perform. Like Paul Stanley from Kiss blew me away. He was fantastic. The greatest performance I've seen from an individual was Dee Schneider from Twisted Sister. Absolutely, just such a showman. It was amazing. But when it came to actual vocals, Bruce Dickinson's up there, one of my favourites of all time. Ronnie James Dio's up there, one of my favourites of all time. And I saw him singing for Sabbath years ago. But the greatest vocal performance I've ever seen live came from Ann Wilson of Heart. Okay. She is so good. Absolutely incredible. Whether it's like the 80s hair metal kind of more rocky stuff, or the 70s folk stuff they play sometimes, or the more recent stuff they're doing, the Led Zeppelin covers. She is miles and miles away the greatest vocalist I've ever seen before. She was incredible, mate.
Great picks. So what's your band name?
I'm going to swipe from the chat and suggestions that people have given us from the CWF in our chat here. And I think I saw Bad Amnesia was one possibility, because let's be honest, I can never remember shit.
The Mutilated Digits.
Yeah, good shite, because my finger is mashed from an accident at work, as people can see there. Yes, not got full use of it yet. So yeah,
don't feel sorry for him. It was an accident of his own doing, of his own volition.
Mate. It was me. I was an idiot.
Where there's blame, there's a claim, and the blame is totally on Sar's hand.
I'm going to sue my hand.
Badly tanned amnesia.
Yeah, that was it. That's a good shite. And I think somebody else mentioned I've not seen it, but spelled S-I-N.
Sharon.
Oh,
Sharon mentioned it. I've not seen that.
Yeah. I would have I've not seen it, as in S-I-N with a little dash, you know? That would look quite good. Maybe that could be a t-shirt for one of the shows.
It could.
It could.
Or it may not be.
No, because I'll forget. Like we said, bad amnesia. So I should start writing shit down, really. But never mind. I'm not going to do that either.
Brilliant.
Magsy, should we dip into the chat quickly, see what people have been chucking our way before we talk a little bit of wrestling?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you guys have knocked it out of the park with this topic. Some great answers, and you guys in the chat with some brilliant comments. So let's go back to Dan confirming that it was Hogan playing bass. Lots of love.
That, I don't want Steve Harris. I want Hogan in my band.
Yeah, but being the bassist would not work for him, brother.
No, that's true. That's true. He'd end up giving like Ann Wilson the big boot and the leg drop, wouldn't he? She just
he wouldn't do the job. He definitely wouldn't do the job for her. Dan said he's been called a one-man air band before, but that was due to farting. Penis Jazz. I mean, is that where you play the pork flute? I think it may be.
Jazz club.
Nice.
Nice.
Natro Nats has corrupted our kids' band. Yes, Steve-O. And Scottish Danny, yeah, definitely corrupted. A Too Old or Too Ha 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 by Sharon. Obviously, then going back to loving Miles Kennedy. And Dan saying that Miles Kennedy was actually his second choice.
Okay.
And then a little bit of information about Slash, and is definitely not a solo band. And Dan saying that even Kid Rock was a good vocal performance on that first Slash album.
It's a good record, Magsy. If you've not heard it, mate, you should check it out. It's really good.
Yeah, I will endeavour to remember to do that.
You did not sound confident at all.
Ryan, aka Nishka, hello sir, how are you? Oh, it's these guys again. I mean, you do keep tuning in, so it stops being our fault and becomes your fault at that point. And Dan said, I am Richard Osman in the shit out of tonight. Brilliant. I love Richard Osman. He's amazing. Do you know who Richard Osman is?
He's the really tall dude with glasses, isn't he? What's he on? Pointless, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has his own show as well, the House of Games, I think it's called.
Yeah, me and Shah watched a bit of that recently. It's quite good.
Yeah. Dan saying, I knocked it out of the park with my singer. Yeah. She's such a talented singer. She did a solo song with Maxi Jazz, I think it was, from The Prodigy, called Carmen Quiz. It's such a brilliant song.
A solo song with somebody else, did she do, you say?
Yeah, it was away from Skunk and Nancy.
Okay, so
Listen,
how come that's... So Slash being away from...
Why are you being pedantic? Why are you pedantic
You
tosser?
started this bullshit.
And apparently I am good at stuff and things. I am average at things. I know words. I do know words, which is a T-shirt you can buy.
Yes. In Burnley colours, mate.
I know. I noticed, sir. I noticed. And it's called the skin flute, not the pork flute. Oh, it's the pork sword, isn't it? Yeah.
The pork flute.
The skin flute. I didn't mean the skin
Brilliant.
flute.
Thank you, as always, to everybody out there who has messaged in via WhatsApp, Twitter, whatever, all members of the CWF getting involved. Sorry, I got a cough again. No, it's gone. It's fine.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
It's like
everyone.
them sneezes where you're like, oh, it's coming. No,
Yeah,
it's not.
It's like, it's bad, mate, isn't it? But yeah, it's awesome. We say it all the time, but this show wouldn't exist without you. So it's fantastic having the people with us on a Monday night, people messaging the show in the chat, people messaging on Twitter and so on. It's absolutely awesome. And if there's people there in the chat that have joined us more recently, something I mentioned at the start of the show, if you're after your Chain Wrestling merch, next 2 days, free postage and packaging. Takes a big chunk off how much you're spending. So look out for the link. It'll be it'll be all over the social medias, but check out the store and have a look if you're after something there.
Absolutely.
Magsy, should we talk a bit of wrestling?
I mean, this is a wrestling podcast, so it's about that time.
Let's get ready to...
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Power out, and he does so. Nice drop toe hold here, and I thought we were going to see some wrestling for a moment. Everyone is the same size on the mat, but here we see Evans just driving forearms into the back of his opponent's head and neck. Langley looks in trouble here. He looks stunned. The snap of that takedown, the forearms. Oh, and a knockout shot. A huge knockout shot by TJ Evans. Langley looks out. We have a 2, we have a 3, and the second member here of ASBO, TJ Evans, advances. At least one member of ASBO will be in the next round.
The preceding announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
You're muted.
How many more moments have you spliced in to the show?
Only them. You shouldn't be embarrassed. I think you've done a cracking job. Really, really impressive.
Oh, thanks, mate. I appreciate that. Also, I wonder how long it'll be before we get a copyright strike for us using that little bit of NWO.
Yeah, for the second time, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But, as we often say on the show, fuck copyright. And you can get a fuck copyright CWF Chain Wrestling t-shirt on the merch store. Free postage and packaging tomorrow and Wednesday. So get on it.
And 20% off if you sign up for text message alerts.
There we go. Well worth it. I got kids to feed, so buy our stuff.
I think that was someone's gimmick. I think you've stolen that gimmick.
Oh yeah, the ginger fella. What was his name? Heath Slater.
Slater, yeah. Brian
Slater,
Myers.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, I've stolen that gimmick. Yeah, I'm gonna make a t-shirt of that. Fuck it. This week we had a Goldberg heavy poll for you online, but it was a bookend of Goldberg, I guess. We had Goldberg's first match in his initial WWE run. We also had Goldberg's last match in his WWE run, his first WWE run that started in 2003. The first match won, which was against The Rock at Backlash 2003. Now, this is interesting for me because I remember at the time being a little bit let down by this. So it's kind of why I wanted to go back and check it out again. So from that aspect, I'm glad it won. Magsy, when was the last time you saw this? Is it something you've gone back and revisited often, or has it been a while?
I wouldn't say it's one of those matches that is in regular rotation. It's obviously it's big with Goldberg being finally in the WWE, and obviously Rock being Hollywood and then being this cocky, smarmy heel. I was a massive Rock fan. But yeah, I actually wished it was now Rock versus Brock, because that's a way better match than this one.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
But it was monumental in terms of these being two big stars in their respective companies finally coming together. And it was a bit of a damp squib, wasn't it?
It was. And to me, this Goldberg match and then his first run, it kind of reminds me of Scott Steiner's debut and then his first run. Because, I mean, Steiner's, I mean, this is April, isn't it? 2003. Steiner debuted in November 2002. So in that short period of time, the bubble's already burst on Scott Steiner. He's done.
Well, yeah. Around this time, he was feuding with and then partnering up with Test.
Yes.
So he was already instantly mid-card.
Yeah. But the debut of Scott Steiner is one of my greatest memories of WWE television from around this time, or any time really.
Especially when he asked for a mic and he swears on national TV, like, "Give me a fucking mic."
Exactly, it was brilliant, and the music hit, the siren, the doors opening at Madison Square Garden, and walking through, and he looked incredible, just chucking people around for fun. And I'm thinking, this is going to be so good. As a big WCW fan, I think this is going to be amazing. It didn't work out. Bad booking. Not looking after Steiner in a way, hiding his shortcomings and so on. It kind of had a big effect, and politics backstage as well. I get exactly the same vibes with this Goldberg run. Goldberg's debut was the night after WrestleMania 19. We had Rock Appreciation Night on Monday Night Raw, where The Rock just wanted to come out and be appreciated, I suppose. I wonder where Roman got the idea for that from then. And we had all this hype around The Rock and so on, because he's finally beaten Austin at WrestleMania. And this moment here is exactly the same to me as Steiner's debut. I can virtually go word for word in my head because I've watched it so many times because I loved it. And he says about how he's beating everybody. There's nobody left. Who's next for him? Goldberg's music hits. Out he comes. The spear. Oh, no, Rock, you're next. You want to know who's next? Rock, you're next. Just fantastic television. One of those moments that genuinely got me off my seat. Like, oh my God, this is going to be incredible. And again, the wheels came off, Mags, didn't they?
Yeah. And I don't think it's much the fault of the two wrestlers, because at this time, I thought that Rock was doing great work as that cocky, smarmy, I'm back from Hollywood, appreciate me heel. And Goldberg did what Goldberg does. Comes in, puff of smoke, a bit of anger, violence. It should have been way better. But you made a point about WWE not covering Steiner's weaknesses. And I think this match, it this highlights Goldberg's weaknesses.
Yes.
Goldberg had built his career on quick, in and out, 90 seconds to 3 minutes, matches done. Having his first match in the company longer than 10 minutes, I think that's a struggle for him. When he's built his career on being in and out, knowing the 5-6 moves that he's going to pull off. This match, even though he comes out as the winner, I think he looks weak in this. He should have come in as this massive, almost impossible to beat, huge monster, and he doesn't come out like that at all. And I think having a 15-minute match with The Rock did him absolutely no favours.
No. So to me, in the same way that Steiner ended up having to go 20 minutes with Triple H and it didn't suit him at all and so on, to me, the booking here is what has killed Bill Goldberg within a month of his debut in WWE. A lot of people criticize Goldberg's comebacks more recently, but when he came back, and it was it Lesnar he came back and squashed in like 90 seconds and won the championship from? Was that right? Yeah.
Or was it not Kevin Owens?
Might have been Kevin Owens, yeah, okay. That's how Bill Goldberg should have been booked here.
Yeah.
But then it's a catch-22 for me because Goldberg, his debut against The Rock instantly made him... I mean, he was a star anyway, of course he was. He was a big deal coming from WCW.
But it made him a WWE star.
Yeah, exactly. Now, all the hype about Goldberg was this big winning streak he had, 174-0 and so on in WCW, how he smashed through people in lightning quick fashion and so on. So, to me, you've got WCW fans expecting to see their version of Bill Goldberg back again. You've got WWE fans who I suppose have been told about this individual who's not wrestled for a couple of years and so on. And what they do and the style they have. And that debut was very smash mouth in the ring, blast through the Rock, out we go, fitting in with the sort of aura that Goldberg had at the time. So they're expecting something different to what they received. It almost, to me, the way this was done, it didn't help anybody because it's a WWE style match, but we're not dealing with a typical WWE performer here. Goldberg can't go in and, like you said, Maxie, and do 14, 15 minutes with The Rock because he hasn't got the moveset. He hasn't got the ability. And, I mean, Heyman is the guy who says it all the time, isn't it, about hiding people's weaknesses and highlighting their plus points. And that's what WCW did so well with Bill Goldberg. They had a star here, WWE. They had an absolute, and they had a tailor-made star, and they had a money-making machine in Bill Goldberg. The way The Rock plays his part is fantastic. He's nervous, he's twitching, he's selling like mad, and he's yelling, "Oh God," at the camera when he's been speared and all this. The Rock is superb. But would you let Goldberg smash through The Rock in 90 seconds? That would probably affect the Rock. The Rock's Teflon. He's not going to get hurt by that. But would you do that?
Exactly. And I think this is a case of dream matches maybe not being all that they are cracked up to be, because you're bringing in a massive star, WCW's biggest homegrown star, and you're putting up against somebody who's just defeated the biggest WWE star at the time in Stone Cold. And in this episode where Goldberg debuts, that's essentially where Stone Cold is written out of the company. He's fired by Eric Bischoff and due to like medical issues. So that's his kind of that swan song. Ready-built replacement with Goldberg. We've always had those kind of comparisons between him and Austin anyway. So, yeah, I think whilst on paper this feels like a money-making match, you needed to protect two big stars, one who had just beaten Austin and one who was coming in as the replacement for Austin. And I think this should have been something that happened maybe a bit further down the line. But with a month's worth of booking leading on into this match, I just felt bad for Goldberg, and I know over the last couple of returns he's had, he's kind of like soured wrestling fans, but the way he is booked in this run, and within the first 3 weeks of him being on TV, they do a backstage skit with Gold Dust. Obviously, the link there with Gold, but it's the Gold Dust that has Tourette's, so it's very much slapstick, tongue-in-cheek style. They have Bill Goldberg wearing a blonde wig, so really kind of like dampening that aura of Goldberg. And then they had the Gilberg stuff. Obviously, Gilberg, someone WWE had used to mock Goldberg incessantly. He's involved in the Rock concert too, which is in the build up to this match. Dan Scotty Daddy says in the comments, I feel too much comedy was injected into this storyline. You're right. Goldberg does not come across as somebody who should be involved in a comedy setup, and it did him absolutely no favors. And it's not a surprise he kind of tumbled down the pecking order not long after this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how old was Goldberg here? I mean, what is he now? He's in his 50s now, isn't he? So this is 19 years ago?
So it would have been mid-30s. You had The Rock, who was, I think, about 30. So these were two guys in the prime of their wrestling careers. And it just wasn't a good debut for Goldberg.
I mean, if this was handled properly, they could have had a star for the next 10 years. A money-making machine. But they dropped the ball. They'd completely dropped the ball. And it's a really difficult thing for me to think about because The Rock's role in this was so good. Do you leave The Rock in there and have him beat quickly? Or do you take The Rock out and have somebody else just fed to Goldberg to get beat quickly? And then you lose what The Rock did so well? It's quite a difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah. And like I said, you've got a Rock coming off beating Austin, finally getting that WrestleMania win over his career rival. Then to walk into a squash to Goldberg, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
It doesn't make sense for Rock's character at this time, who was gracing the WWE with his presence after being the huge star in Hollywood. So for him to come and then get squashed in 90 seconds just wouldn't have worked at all. And if you were looking at a wrestler in the company to perhaps carry Goldberg to a good match, there's not that many more wrestlers that you would pick over The Rock. I mean, obviously you had Shawn Michaels, you had Triple H, but they were already tied up in a feud. But Rock is capable of carrying someone to a decent match. Unfortunately, for me, he wasn't able to carry Goldberg to a decent match.
No. And we'll get to the match here. I mean, to be honest, there's not masses to talk about in the match itself, Magsy, is there? Because a great deal of it is full of, I suppose, stalling by The Rock, which again adds to the aura of Goldberg. He's, he's scared of getting in the ring with Goldberg. He rolls out the ring at one point and looks like he's going to leave. And there's a lot of, out of that sort of 14 minutes or whatever it may well be, a lot of it is spent with The Rock messing around on the outside or one guy literally lying there selling on the mat, and not a great deal move-wise, actual wrestling-wise. There's not masses to discuss here, is there?
No, you're absolutely right. And I think that was a very deliberate move on the part of the agent that booked this match, because Goldberg, for all his aura and his charisma, wasn't a technical wrestler. He had a more limited moveset than John Cena, and John Cena gets mocked incessantly for the 5 moves of doom. Goldberg had maybe 3 moves of doom that he could fit in. So the shenanigans by The Rock was all done to fill that time, to fill that 15 minutes that this main event got. The wrestling in the ring was, from Goldberg's part, was what he would typically do in a match. Very smash mouth, very kind of offense heavy. there was a point where he goes for an early spear, goes and Rock side swaps him, and he goes into the ring post and hurts the jackhammer shoulder. Sells it for a little bit, then forgets, and then sells it again, which is hilarious, typical. But yeah, this was a 5-minute match stretched out over 15 minutes for me.
Which again, to me, shows how WWE dropped the ball. Just let them have 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Simple as that. You haven't got to give them quarter of an hour just because it's on last or whatever.
Exactly.
You know, so. And we get a few moments where Goldberg is... I suppose, again, it works against him who his opponent is here. Because The Rock, even as this heel Rock, this Hollywood-style character Rock, he's entertaining. He's brilliant in the Rock concerts and all this sort of stuff. He's entertaining. He's funny. Goldberg, people are unsure within minutes, aren't they? Within minutes of the match starting, they're unsure of what's going on. And at one moment, Goldberg shoves The Rock down to the canvas. The Rock does the old Ric Flair spot of sitting in the corner, looking mortified of normally Sting across the ring from him, but on this occasion for The Rock, obviously it's Goldberg. And the crowd actually start booing Goldberg a little bit straight off the bat.
Yeah,
and these boos, they don't go away, do they?
They get worse. By the end of it, there's a lot of Goldberg sucks chants. And I think that's partly because he was WCW and partly because this match stank. They realised that maybe, he was a big name, but he wasn't a WWE caliber wrestler. I feel for him because The Rock tried so hard to be the shithead heel in this. I mean, there's a point where he slaps Goldberg, he yells to the camera, "You're in trouble now." He refuses to break the sharpshooter. But nothing that The Rock can do to kind of get that heel heat is working. You start hearing actually more chants for The Rock. And it's almost the same kind of feeling that we got at WrestleMania 18, where you get that double turn, but on such a smaller scale. And I actually want to go back to that and kind of touch on something that actually pissed me off about this match and this setup. Now, when Hogan came back, he got the WrestleMania treatment. Goldberg came in day after WrestleMania, first match at Backlash. The stadium was tiny. I think it was 10,000 seats, but the stage was so bad. It felt like they treated Goldberg instantly as a B-level wrestler.
Yeah.
I remember the Backlash stage set with the swinging hooks. Awesome. This looked almost indie. I mean, there's no ramp. It's all flat towards the ring. It just felt like we brought in this huge star from WCW, but we don't want him to be a star. We want him to kind of prove that WWE are the better show. We'll chuck him on Backlash, and it just felt that Goldberg was never going to succeed in this first run.
Which again, it's baffling, isn't it? And you know, there is arguments for that. I mean, you look at how Diamond Dallas Page was treated when he first came into the company.
Yeah.
Booker T, when he first came in, he had a little bit of an allegiance with Vince McMahon, I suppose, for a short period in time. But
Buff Bagwell, very poor well.
You know, it's just so many guys come over from WCW around this time and are not treated how you would expect them to be. And again, I don't understand, because if you booked Goldberg differently here, whether with a different opponent or the match just goes short or whatever, you have the potential for a money-making machine for the next 10 years. Now, if Vince McMahon is this all-genius promoter, surely politics and arrogance and so on shouldn't dictate that he's got no interest in making money on the guy. It just
Exactly.
baffles me how this can happen.
Yeah, and you look at the 5 years or so that he had in WCW, and you book him like that because he was red hot. He was one of the hottest properties in wrestling. Why would you not want to bring that money making machine into your company, book him exactly like that, and keep that money coming in? But Vince's ego sometimes is so it's a detriment to the product. A lot of the times, I mean, how many WCW stars have come in and have been absolutely ruined? Scott Steiner, we mentioned him. Sting, when he came in, buried almost straight away. It's
Sting didn't
almost
win a match, did he? Did Sting? Or did he win a match on Raw? Maybe I don't think he won a match.
No, I don't think he did.
And you look at Sting now in his 60s in AEW, the guy's a star again because he's being booked in a way that looks after him, and he's batshit crazy and jumps off entrance ramps, of course. Don't get me wrong, but the guy's a star. They had Sting back then, the same way they had Goldberg back then. They had Steiner back then. It's just this is why we can't have nice things, isn't it? Because Vince McMahon is a dick.
And he's too busy shagging interns and paying them hush buddy.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I mean, again, we say there's not a great deal here to really discuss in the match. Magsy, you mentioned the sharpshooter spot. He's in that sharpshooter for far too long, isn't he? Again, it just seems to really drag, you know?
But again, fair play to The Rock. He's really kind of selling it, really talking it up to the camera. And there is, for me, probably the best spot in this match when Earl Hebner is distracted and The Rock just punches Goldberg straight in the moneymakers. It's brilliant. And then just walks away and pretends that he's done nothing wrong. This Rock is so underrated in his cockiness, his smarminess. I love this 2003 Rock.
The entrance video and entrance music as well for this version of The Rock is probably my favourite. It is so good.
Yeah, it's so look at me, I'm a superstar. Yeah.
It's fantastic. We do get Goldberg using a rock bottom, which is quite unique. The Rock also hits a rock bottom during the match. The Rock hits a spear, but it looks almost like it's half of a spine buster takedown kind of effort.
And this is where we missed Jim Ross on commentary because Coach... I like Coach in that comedy kind of a backstage interviewer role. As commentator, he is not a patch on JR. He doesn't kind of elevate the match with his commentary, and he's there saying that it's a spine buster. It was a fucking spear. He barely lifted Goldberg's legs. Coach did not do this match any justice whatsoever.
No, he did not. Where was JR then? Where was he? Oh, had he kissed McMahon's arse here and was late for a bit or something?
He may have had a Bell's palsy issue.
Yeah, fair enough. We get a people's elbow as well, which Goldberg kicks out on 2 from. It looked like he pretty much didn't, but he in kayfabe he got his shoulder up on 2, and there was a chorus of boos then, wasn't there?
Yeah, and he kicks out as well of the rock bottom just a few minutes before this, and he's so late. He doesn't kick out. It's actually Earl Hebner doing the 3 count, and he throws himself kind of into that third one to upset the pin. Goldberg, Jesus Christ, mate, learn to kick out, learn to count, sir.
He looks like he's blown up a little bit though, but again, 15-minute match. Goldberg's not going to do a 15-minute match.
Yeah, and if you watch his debut, he's blown up just walking around the ring because The Rock and Goldberg are circling each other, and he gets out of breath at that. So, like we've said, this is not a fault on Goldberg. Goldberg does what Goldberg does. He comes in, huff of smoke, 3-minute match. What ruined him was the fact that he was booked to do a 15-minute match in his debut. It shouldn't have been that way whatsoever.
Yeah. And Goldberg, so exciting. And we looked at the match against Hogan. fantastic television. So exciting. And I know Steve-O has been tweeting today because Steve-O, quite openly states that he's never got into WCW. He's actually just recorded his own podcast looking at that whole episode of Nitro, which I'm looking forward to listening to tomorrow. And he says this might be what gets him into a bit of WCW because of how exciting the whole Goldberg thing was. That to me is the perfect example of how big a deal Goldberg was when handled properly. And it's just, again, this apparent genius promoter just dropped the ball, and it's, it is what it is. Ultimately, we get a spear, and then it takes The Rock what seems like half my life to get back up from the first spear, and then he gets a second spear, the jackhammer, 1, 2, 3, chorus of boos, and that's the end of the match, isn't it? So that's the end of the event as well.
Yeah, and if this last minute or so was the whole match, it would have been a perfect introduction to Goldberg in WWE. The Rock selling the first spear, a little bit overselling, but this was his character at the time. I believe in the interview that he did before the match with Terry Runnels, he's saying how much the spear hurts. He's saying he's going to do his best to avoid the spear, and he had done for 13, 14 minutes of this match. And then takes that first spear, takes that second one, and then we get the greatest hits of Goldberg, the jackhammer, which was so impressive. The way he held Rock up. I mean, Rock's 6'4". Held him up with
265,
yeah,
like
exactly. Holds him up with one arm, spins around. That's the Goldberg that it should have been. That's the exciting, quick Goldberg. It's just we had to put through that 13 minutes of bullshit beforehand.
It's a real shame. But there we go. That's the arrogance of the WWE, I guess, my friend. So, Magsy, out of 10?
Right. I love The Rock. Absolutely. I think he's one of the best wrestlers that we've ever had in the WWE. Goldberg should have been so much better than this. He should have been booked so much better. I think this match did him no favours. He looked weak at points. Goldberg, in his first match in the company, should not spend a lot of the time with an injury, should not spend a lot of the time in submission moves, should not be spending a lot of time on the canvas, all gassed up. He should have been in and out. So This wasn't a good match. The ratings that it got it stank. It absolutely stank. Dave Meltzer, I think he only gives it a quarter of a star or something like that. I don't think it was as bad as that, but it certainly wasn't one of the best matches we've ever seen. I'm struggling to rate this higher than a 3.
Why? Okay. I got 3.5, mate.
Oof. Very, very close.
And I thought I was going to be controversial marking it that low, but I didn't enjoy it.
No, I didn't at all. I dare say at the time, watching it as a younger wrestling fan, it was exciting because it is Goldberg. But watching back to criticise and analyse it, it was a drag to get through.
See, I can remember watching it at the time, and it felt anticlimactic to me then because I wanted so much more. I wanted the Goldberg of WCW. I wanted the Goldberg from that episode of Raw, telling The Rock he's next. That's the Goldberg I wanted. But instead, I got WWE version of Goldberg, which is Goldberg light, I suppose.
Gilbert. You got a Gilbert.
Yeah, and it's a real shame. It was anticlimactic. And again, it's no slight on Goldberg. He's a very limited performer. Stick to what he can do well. You've got a star. WWE didn't do that.
No,
so
you are right.
Goldberg should have looked like Superman. He should have looked like an absolute killer. He was made to look human too quickly. He was made to look like people can get at him too quickly. And that affected Goldberg on his debut. And it affected Goldberg's whole first run. And we never really got the best of Goldberg in WWE. And that is your fault, Vince McMahon, you absolute stroker.
It's right. You are absolutely right.
So
it was terrible.
there we go then. Now, Magsy, next week, as we mentioned earlier on, brought to my attention by your good self, that is a year's worth of live shows. It's our 52nd live episode, our 52nd Chain Wrestling Live. So you came up with the idea that perhaps we should look at matches that won previous polls in that year, go back and see if we've changed our opinion of them a little bit with regards to, I mean, because I look back on certain matches we reviewed in the past and think, oh, maybe I would rate that different now because my opinion's changed, or I've watched more stuff around that time or whatever. So that's what we're going to do next week on our, I suppose, our 52nd
Anniversary.
live, or our anniversary, yeah. That's what we're going to do. We're both going to put forward an option on the poll this week that has already been on Chain Wrestling. And we're going to scan through it and basically, do we agree with our past selves, I suppose, is what we're looking at. So, Maxie, what past show, what past match are you going to be putting forward?
Okay, so yeah, this is something that we've mentioned quite a few times on the show, that we should go back and maybe revisit some of these matches. And what better time to do that than the 52nd episode, the year anniversary. So yeah, I thought it was the perfect time to do something like this. But the caveat of linking it to the next link in the chain still absolutely stands for me. I'm playing by the rules. You know me. I'm a stickler for those rules. I don't like to bend them.
Fuck off.
So there is a link, a very, very incredibly tenuous link, but there is a link nonetheless. So the link is it's a common opponent, somebody who both guys have wrestled, and between them, they've only wrestled this wrestler 3 times. So in singles competition. Obviously we get multi-mans and tag teams for the house shows and things like that, but in singles competition they've only faced this common wrestler 3 times between the two. 2 of them we've covered previously on the show.
Right.
And the match that I'm going for is also very infamous in chain wrestling lore. It's a match that you teased for so many weeks.
Oh my goodness.
Before finally dropping that hammer. And it's also, as well, the first match where our scores were very significantly different. We've mentioned before on the show how almost in sync our scores are, usually within half of a point. And we actually, I think we're a couple of points maybe adrift of each other for this match. So I'm going to stop the filibustering now. I'm just going to come out with it. We are going back to when Hulk Hogan saved the world at WrestleMania 7. Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter.
Oh man, see, that wasn't a live show though.
I didn't say that it had to be a live show.
No,
I just said in the history of chain wrestling.
Ah, okay. In that case, then I'm changing my pick on the fly. So stick with me because the link's going to be a bit weird. But okay, why Hogan Slaughter? Hogan. I'll tell you what, that's good as well. You shouting Hogan saved the world. You know, just like I used to back in the day, teasing this awful match. Yeah.
See, there's levels to this show. It all comes around. Wrestling is a circle.
We ran that gimmick into the ground, didn't we?
No, there was no we. This was not a we thing. This was a you thing.
Yeah, I ran that gimmick into the ground week after week after week. It never, yeah. Okay, Hogan versus Slaughter, WrestleMania 7. Why? Okay. Right, so my link will be... how can I get there? How can I get there? Think. Okay, Bill Goldberg and The Rock, both former WCW champions. So I'm going to take that and look at a WCW title match. And I would like to go back to the very first episode of Chain Wrestling.
Fucking knew. I was actually going to pick this match.
And I think we can have a little look way back when at Chain Wrestling episode 1, the very first one, the match that we looked at that started the chain off. We had 4 options on a poll. Nobody knew what the poll was for. We threw this poll out there, 4 options. People just voted blindly. And the match that won was Booker T versus Scott Steiner. Straight jacket on a pole match for the WCW World Title. So that'll be what I will put forward, my friend. And that's going to be interesting because that's fair. You know, we were talking the other day about how we watch a lot of good wrestling and stuff. And, you know, Chain Wrestling was supposed to be a bit of a laugh and a joke, looking at some silly wrestling too. These are 2 shite matches, mate. So
I mean, we have always said that we want to go back to that match and kind of re-rate it because of some of the dog shit we've watched since, and some of the good matches. Because I think we give that both a 5, very kind of middle of the road.
Yes.
But then we've watched other matches that we gave a 5, which were infinitely better, and also matches that we gave a 5 that were maybe a little bit worse. We'll see.
That is correct. If that wins, because we may well go back to WrestleMania 7,
I
1991,
hope so.
when Hulk Hogan saved the world from the evil Sergeant Slaughter. God, it's been months since I've done that on this show. That felt good. I'm going to find a way of bringing that back. Those are your options on the poll that will be with you up on the Chain Wrestling Live Twitter account at Chain_Wrestling. We can go back to WrestleMania 7, Hulk Hogan saving the world against Sergeant Slaughter there for the WWF Championship, or Mayhem 2000, Scott Steiner versus Booker T from WCW, straight jacket steel cage match. Both of these come from way back in the audio only days. Let's revisit them. Let's have a little vote and see which way we go. And let's see, were we fair when we panned both of these contests? Were we too kind?
The answer is yes, we were fair.
on next week, our anniversary show of Chain Wrestling Live. Magsy, do you want to let everybody know whereabouts they can find you online so they can tweet you and message you and you can completely blank them and big time them like you do everyone else at the moment?
It's not because honestly, guys, it is not because I am big time. I am not 2003 The Rock. I do not think I am. I'm enjoying the time away from social media.
Totally, mate.
Having that reliance on.
I only said that to make you squirm.
You're an arsehole. That's why.
I am.
But yeah, you can find me down here on the Twitter at PodfatherMags. I have got a full inbox, and I'm not. It's not that I'm ignoring people. It's just like I said, I don't have that energy, I suppose, for Twitter. I will get back there eventually, so just follow me anyway. Don't be a meanie. You may sometimes see me pop up on TikTok, but also that's pretty rare as well. But you can follow me there on at MagsAllPods. You're actually better off following all the links that Sar's going to put out because he will actually talk to you.
I will. I mean, I miss some. I mean, I've got 7 Twitter accounts now.
You greedy bastard.
For each show I'm involved in, and then the network itself, and so on. So it can be a bit tricky following everything, like, but why? Okay, so the best way of getting hold of me, if you so desire, is my Twitter, as you can see on the screen there. Unless you're listening to the podcast, that doesn't work at all. Forget I just said that. My Twitter account at SJPWords. The Chain Wrestling Twitter account and Facebook page as well is at Chain_Wrestling, where you can find the Hall of Lame thread. You can find our non-wrestling topics. You can find the poll each week as well. But I'm involved in all sorts. Doctor Who pod, waiting room. There's a new show coming very soon. Check in at Power Palace, which I'm going to do with my wonderful wife there. I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be entertaining, coming out fortnightly. So much stuff going on. So the best way of keeping up with all of that is to follow the network itself at SJP World Media. Chuck that a follow, and you get all the accounts are retweeted by that. All the links to the stuff. I mean, we're now popping up on Apple Podcasts in the last hour or so. They finally okayed that. Google takes another week or two, so I'm afraid that's going to take a bit longer. But we're on Spotify, we're on Stitcher, we're on Podcast Addict, we're on Podcast Republic, we're on Apple, we're all over the bloody place. Just waiting on Google now, bastards. But there we go. Yeah, at SJP World Media for checking out all the shows I'm involved in there. So, yeah, that's it, mate. Oh, don't forget your merch in the comments section here on the podcast version when it comes out. All over our social medias as well. There will be a link to the online store. Go grab yourself some merch in the next 2 days whilst they are not charging for postage and packaging. It does make it so much cheaper. You can buy it in bulk if needs be. You can buy the mugs, which are obviously heavier, and you don't get charged for the postage. Well worth checking out in the next couple of days. Get involved in that. And Magsy, you said something about 20% off as well?
Yeah, if you sign up when you go to the website, you'll get an option to sign up for text alerts. I think I don't think they're the intrusive kind where they're bombarding you. It's more to tell you when your orders come in and things like that. And you get 20% off your purchases doing that as well. So if they stack, I have no idea if that stacks with the free postage, but if they do, save yourself a little bit more money. And also, whilst you have got a minute, definitely go over to the EVM Wrestling YouTube channel, give them a sub. The more wrestling out there, the better. And as Sa mentioned, these guys are fresh. They're learning every week. They're getting better and better. And with Sa picking up the mantle of being on commentary, it's going to be fun to watch them. They've got a few showcase videos on their YouTube channel, so definitely go and check them out as well.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Maxie. That's spot on, mate. Spot on. Considering in theory I'm linked to the company, I probably should have plugged them. I apologise.
Brilliant.
But no, definitely, Magsie's right. I will also, literally, as we go off air now, the next thing I will do will be pick up my phone and on the SJP World Media Twitter account and the Chain Wrestling Twitter account itself, I will tweet out the link to the merch. So jump on board with that, okay? A couple in the chat there quickly, Magsy, before we depart.
Well, first of all, it looks like you're going to win this poll. Spoiler alert, I'm voting for Sa's pick. Cameron's saying ditto. Hogan's a knob. And Dan saying another great show. Thanks for making Mondays better. Listen, it's not us. It's definitely not us. We waffle shit for about 2 hours. You guys are the stars. You guys are the absolute stars. We love the fact that you've taken us to your hearts, and we love that you're getting involved. Cam saying that he agrees, even catching only the last half, and he can't wait for the podcast to drop in the midweek. And we'll leave on this one. Scottish Danny can't wait to get his CWF shirt. Yeah, and definitely tweet us a pic of that, Danny, when you've got that. Yeah, honestly, you guys are amazing. Like I said earlier in the show, sometimes you put merch out and it's a gamble. You don't know if people are going to be interested. You don't know if you've got that love and that fan base. You guys have smashed it. We're so proud to know that we're a part of this wrestling community that we've got. And thank you so much. It means the absolute world to us.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree, Maxie. Totally agree. So then, that concludes another Chain Wrestling. A year's worth next week, mate. A year's worth. Chain Wrestling Revisited? I don't know. So I like a hashtag. I'll think of something. I'm off now to go and watch the rest of Bill Goldberg's 174 unbeaten streak matches because this has left me with a really bad taste in my mouth. Magsy, I'll speak to you next week.
And you've got 45 minutes to spare.
Yes.
I pressed the wrong one. That was the intro. So